What's up, YouTube? Got the old 302 on the engine stand, got the oil pan off of it. Probably going to end up replacing the oil pump here, but starting to clean the block up a little bit. Got the oil pan gasket off, just used a razor blade and scraped it. It's nothing fancy, it's the old school way of doing it. Trick is not to dig, but that and a shop towel to clean it up. I got some sandpaper here, some 400. I noticed this gear is hard to slide on. Don't really want to go on, it's going to have to be tapped. Which I don't mind, but it's kind of a pain, so I'm just going to want to clean this up just so it's smooth, because it's got like a ridge and stuff in it. Just going to slide the paper back and forth, like so. Good. And put a little assembly lube on it. Some people like this stuff, some people don't. But it's the Ultra Slick Permatex. I'm going to set it over all of it. Keyway, crank snout. I'll just take some and put in here. Shouldn't really need too much to coat the inside of this gear. Get inside there and make sure it's coated. Alright, I'm not going to slide it all the way on, I'm going to have to tap it. For that, I'm going to end up probably putting this cam in. And I had the cam in it the other night, but now that putting a different set of heads on it, I had another cam around that was in that American, I called it the Americamont, the red, white, and blue sedan Fairmont that I had and sold. It had a Lunati cam in it. It's 536 on both sides, 218 I want to say, at 50 on the intake and 228 I want to say on the exhaust. Nothing too crazy, but it should work halfway decent, so I'm going to go grab that real quick. That's on the bench. Alright. I got the cam. It's not in bad shape. Has a little bit of marks on it and stuff, but this motor's nothing crazy great anyway. And like, can't even feel this. So I'm not worried about it. I did clean some of it up where the bearings are, because the bearings, you know, that's oil pressure. Having that tolerance good, and I don't want to rip a bearing out of it. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the crank snout. And we're going to lube this up. I'm being kind of messy with it because I don't really care if these lobes get coated. So I put oil in it. I'll probably dump some down through the galley before the intake goes on and lube them up. Get some on the distributor gear too. Stuff's pretty stringy. I usually use gear oil when I do this, but I'm actually out of gear oil right now. I like gear oil because you can set it down in the motor and it'll leak into the oil pan eventually, and good lubricant to slide the cams in. I'm going to slide this in real slow and easy. Just take the time. For some reason I'm hitting somewhere. There she goes. It gets tricky when you start getting to the back. Kind of actually got to almost angle the cam. And just take your time. There she is. Just going to spin her around. Get that lube all on the bearings. Pull this bolt out. I usually leave the bolt in it so I have a little extra leverage to grab onto when I'm sliding that in. And when I slide a cam out, I'll put this bolt in so that way I can pull it out. It's always good to have the bolt around. It's just my way of doing it, at least. Makes it a little easier. I leave the washer on it too, because that extra little bit of radius gives you something to kind of grab onto. So just one of my little tricks that I do when I do this stuff. I don't have a tool or nothing to put the cam in all nice. I don't have nothing like that. That's how I've always done it. Never had an issue. So that's the way I'm going to keep doing it. Got this collar. These are marked back, bottom. Now, obviously the engine's upside down, so back, bottom. I'm going to go like this. I believe these are 7/16 bolts, 7/16 bolts. Long day, guys, excuse me. I use an 11mm on them. Got some grit on it. Take that off. One thing I don't want to do is get grit on there. Should have paid better attention, but this is what happens when you do stuff 2 o'clock in the morning. You can use a torque wrench if you want. I always tighten these by hand. Go pretty snug. Alright, that's where I want it. I'm good with that. If you wanted to, you could put some thread locker on there so they don't back out. I never have had an issue with one backing out. Not yet, at least. So, I'm not going to end up doing that. Now we can put our timing chain on. Alright. This has a dot on it with the keyway right here. And I put this 2 degrees advanced. Just because that's where I'm going to try the cam at first. This might come apart and end up changing. I got to see how it works where I have it. But cam's good to 6,200. Theoretically, it should lose RPM. But it's one of those things where if the combination's right and it likes it there with the intake and all, it could still possibly spin up 6,200. This being a cast piston motor, I really don't want to turn it any harder than I have to. So 6,000 would be ideal. These cast pistons, they have an engine speed before they actually start to have issues. Which there's a way to figure all that out, but I'm not a real technical guy. I just try to use common sense and kind of have my own formula for things and do it my own way. Like using a hammer upside down. Alright, so now the cam sprocket is in line with the 2 degree advance mark on the keyway of the crank. So this is dot to dot. Although it's 2 degrees advanced, I'm still matching the dots up. Really supposed to use a degree wheel with this stuff, but I don't own a degree wheel. And I kind of, like I said, I have my own way of doing things. So, there are a couple different ways you can set cam timing. If the heads and stuff were on it, you could go off of a cylinder pressure. It's an old school trick. I've done it that way. It's a nice little tight timing chain there, boy. It's good. Alright, now the thing I gotta look out for here is that this dowel pin sticks out enough to go through this eccentric hub. I usually don't run these, but this is most likely getting the factory pump on it for the time being, the mechanical fuel pump. So therefore, I'm hoping that it works. It does feel like it's sticking out a tiny bit, so I guess we'll find out. tighten this bolt up. Might need a longer dowel pin for that. Maybe not. Let's tighten it. Might be alright. Now for the cam bolt. I torque these to Russian spec. Good and tight. Might be German. I don't know. I can't remember now. You can see that's pretty tight. And that is in there perfect. So that's good. It sucked that cam gear in. Perfect. I'm just going to check it one more time. Spun the motor over. Alright, there we go. So you can lean on it pretty good. I mean, that probably looks worse than what I'm actually doing. I have a pretty good feel with this stuff usually, but just got to be careful. You got to know what you're feeling for when you do this stuff. Alright, and then they had this on here. Now I'm just putting this stuff back to the way it was. I'm not sure if this is exactly needed, but it's on there. Just got to make sure that this isn't gonna, this chain's gonna be thicker than what came off of it. I think I have the factory one. I have the cam sprocket for it. This is what came off of it. Standard crappy nylon deal. Yeah, it's a good amount thicker. So just got to be sure that I have enough clearance to run this plate with the timing cover and that thicker chain on there. Find out. Might be a little bit of test fitting, but still got to get gaskets for the front cover. Got to get a rear main seal gasket, oil pan gasket. Should be good enough. This has a keyway in it. Only go on one way. And you can put it on two, but it won't sit right. So you want this dish to go into that chain basically on that sprocket. That clears the chain, so that's good. Now that might just be for oil deflection. Theoretically, I should keep oil on the chain and keep it from coming forward. It should actually help it seal a little bit better on that front main. First time I've ever seen this little dust cover. That's probably actually what it's for though, is to keep oil from pushing out that front main. Just to help prevent any oil leaks. But if you know what it's for, comment and let me know, because I have no idea, to be honest with you. I don't mess with these old motors. I mess with the 80s stuff. It doesn't have crap like this. Seen this before. I know what that's for. Usually take them off and throw them in the garbage or scrap pile. First time I've ever put one back on, and it kind of hurts my soul a little bit. Alright, still got some more cleaning up to do. Oh, look at that. Used a different cam bolt. Anyway, got some more cleaning up to do to this block. I'm going to paint it. So I'll clean all this stuff up. I got some engine degreaser the other day. So I'm hoping tomorrow I can get it pulled out. Put some cardboard or some trash bags down underneath this, even though it's a mess. But underneath the engine stand, and clean it, let the stuff drip down on the bags, and that way I can just pick it up and toss it. Probably scrape all this up after I paint it, because if any overspray gets on, I can just scrape it down and be good. Try to get something to cover this up so paint don't get on it. That's pretty much it. You just saw me install camshaft 302, timing chain, and the fuel pump drive. So I'm going to get this thing together soon, see how it runs. I'm going to have to check piston and valve clearance after I get the heads. If I can find a set of used heads, probably buy a set of used heads. As of right now, I'm not having too good of luck. People want new prices for used stuff. Never thought I'd see the day where a set of used trick flows would be $1,200. But they are. So, really looking into them SVE heads. Looking into a couple different pairs of heads, but the SVE so far are looking like the best option. So, we'll see. I'd like to replace this oil pump, I'm thinking. Definitely the pickup tube. This thing is seen better days, it looks like. The screen's all, it's not nice. So I think I want to do the pump. I might pull this apart and check it. Maybe keep this and put a screen on it. But I'd like to put an ARP prime rod in this, or oil pump shaft, which evidently fell out. The clip on that's probably pushed down. But, I mean, you see how dinky that thing is. That thing's, yeah, it's definitely, I gotta definitely buy a oil pump prime rod for that oil pump shaft. I don't know if I have one or not. These are prone to twist. Couple different theories behind why they do. Some say because certain years didn't use a gasket on the oil pump and the screen. They say this gets airlocked and the distributor wants to still spin, and the pump locks up, snaps the shaft from getting aerated. And then the other theory was they always break in the cold. That could be because it's getting aerated, who knows. I like the aerated idea, it sounds logical. So, always want to put one of these in, a 302 if you're building one. Get rid of this dinky little shaft. That thing's like a pencil. I don't even know why. I think the newer 302s have one thicker than that thing. That thing looks tiny. I didn't even know they made them. I gotta get that off of there. Alright, you guys are gonna watch me pull this apart. Need an extension for that. I had one out here. Thought. Let me see, grab an extension. Get in there with this long socket. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Not that one. Might need to get a short socket for this, or a wrench. Yeah, we're going to get a wrench. Trying to be lazy and not grab tools, but sometimes you just gotta take a couple steps. Trying not to stand in the way so you guys can see. Probably in the way anyway, but really nothing too crazy about pulling an oil pump off an engine. 3 bolts, well 2 bolts and a nut. Pulling the screen off with it. So pull this whole thing off. I'm going to do what you shouldn't do if you're going to reuse it, set it on the floor, but it might force me to buy a new one. Either way, I'm going to clean it, so I'm not too worried about it. There's your oil pump shaft. And just so I don't use it, put it right in the scrap pile. So now, if I need one, I'll be stuck. But at least I won't be able to put that piece of crap back in it. I just put my hardware back on for the oil pump and the screen. I'm calling it a screen because that's what they call them. That's the term the auto parts store uses, but really it's a pickup tube. But they call it a screen, and I'll show you why they call it a screen, which is the dumbest reason. Because it's got a screen in here, so this is your oil pump pickup screen instead of your pickup tube. Just going to clean this surface, make sure there's no gasket material left over. Take the bolts back out. Should have did that before putting them back in, really. While I'm cleaning this, I'm pushing down pretty good, scrubbing it with this towel. The reason for doing that is to get any oil residue or gasket material. Pushing so hard I'm actually rubbing through the towel. So I want to get that as dry as possible, so when I put a new gasket on it, there's nothing under it. There's just a spot there that I rubbed away, either gunk or... And I'll also clean this with like a brake clean or carb cleaner to get it better, an engine degreaser. But the cleaner you can get it now, kind of the less I'm going to have to do later. Get the thick stuff off, that way I'm not wasting my cleaning products. Try to get as much as you can out of what you pay for. This stuff isn't cheap, all the cleaners and everything. So take 2 seconds to wipe the bolts off. Don't have to go crazy on them, but there you go, guys. Nothing too crazy, just some simple stuff. Little cam install and taking the oil pump off, and I'll get that stuff ordered. Not quite sure exactly when I'm going to order that, because I try to do bulk orders so I don't have to pay shipping from Summit. That's where I like to order stuff from, the Summit. So I'll have to find all that stuff. That's going to be a rear sump pickup. It goes in the rear sump back here. So rear of the engine is the front, for those who might not know. So that's going to be a rear sump pickup tube. That is important, because if you have a front sump pan, you need a front sump pickup tube. If you have a rear sump pan, you need the rear sump. This is a double hump pan or double sump pan. But you gotta, if it has a rear sump, it needs that rear pickup tube. So they're better designed anyway, because if you got a car you're racing or a truck you're wheeling, that oil's going to slosh back and it's going to try to suck up oil that's not there if you have a front sump. So always try to run a rear sump pan. If you're a fox body person, you ain't got to worry about it. They come with the rear sump on them. It's the same oil pan that was on this, double sump. But the front sump's like this big. It's not really crazy. Pans around here somewhere. It's just for holding oil. That's what I'm talking about. It's got two sumps. If you notice, the front one's not as deep. Definitely not as big as the back one. So I got to order a new pan because this one's folded in on the bottom. Which I probably could fix it, but I'm not going to go through all that trouble. Buy a new pan. Because that one I have to clean up to paint it. So by the time I spend money on product to clean it, my time to hammer it out, it's better off buying another one. So, alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you like this stuff, like and subscribe. Got more stuff coming, especially with this. Probably show you guys the install of the oil pump and the oil pump shaft. That way you guys can see the difference between the good one. And you'll have to go between videos because the other one's at the scrap pile now, but the other one's about twice the size of that one. So, but you know, I'll do the oil pump when I get it in, gasket, and show you guys all that stuff, and maybe even sealing this timing cover and all up. Alright, so stay tuned. Come back for more. Thanks again, guys. Catch you on the next one.